I have everything you need to know about every Big Ten team, every Big Ten game this weekend, and then we go on the record for our weekly fearless, bold pigskin picks. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And if you could hit that subscribe button, that way you get us every single day. We're in the same club. And if you could share, like, and follow, that helps us out too. Plus, did you know you can hype YouTube videos? That would be appreciated. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So all 18 teams are in action this weekend. No buys. So we're going to get through all of it right here. We'll preview every single Big Ten game and then have our pigskin pick. So let's jump in. We'll pick it up. We got a game tonight. Friday Night Lights. Rutgers going all the way out west to take on Washington. That game is at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. You can find it on FS1. And Rutgers is coming off a bye week after a tough 31-28 loss in Minnesota. And that was Ethan Kaliak, man, is playing against his former team. And look, Rutgers' offense has been great so far. The defense has been a bit leaky. And even Iowa put 38 points on them. So, and that was with 7 points from a 100-yard kickoff return, but still, they got north of 30. So the Huskies, on the other hand, have been flying high, putting up points and stats and yards. And then they had to take on Ohio State, and they only managed 2 field goals in that game. But Ohio State has the best defense in the country. So the Huskies last week flew all the way to the East Coast, and they were jet lagged or something. They fell behind 20-0, but then they stormed back and they won 24-20. I thought that was very impressive, both in getting the 24 they needed and holding Maryland at 20 from that point. It was a bit of a wake up, and now they're at home taking on a Rutgers team. And again, with that defense, I think they're going to be able to put some points on the board. Remember last year's game, Washington went out to Rutgers, missed a bunch of field goals and lost last year's game. So they're a little payback this year. So that's tonight, Friday Night Lights in the Big Ten. On to Saturday, the number 1 team in the country, Ohio State, taking on 17th ranked Illinois. That's the big noon game on Fox, noon Eastern, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. And hey, Ohio State fan, another noon game for you. What else is new, right? Did you enjoy the prime time under the lights last week? Ryan Day is getting comfy, opening up the playbook for young quarterback Julian Sayin. He's been delivering, and he's got like 300-yard games so far. Cardell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, they got a little friendly battle to be wide receiver 1 as targets here. Matt Patricia's defense is suffocating. It's only given up 2 touchdowns all year, 1 to Texas and 1 to Ohio. The rest of the way, it's just been field goals and shutouts. Very impressive. Look, Illinois is a good football team. They've won big. They've won in the last seconds, like against USC, and they've been embarrassed as well, 63-10 to Indiana. They've been led by Luke Altmaier and Hank Beatty, very good, and I think they're good enough to give Ohio State a little bit of a game for a while. And the only question here is which Illinois team shows up, and do they get blown out or do they hang? So we'll see. I'll have my pigskin picks on this in a moment. So I don't know if this is going to be more like the Washington-Ohio State game where a good Washington team couldn't score a touchdown or not. That's what we're going to find out together on that one. Meanwhile, UCLA, the most talked about team in the country this week, they're going to Michigan State. That's at 12 noon Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific on the West Coast if you're out there watching UCLA. That's on the Big Ten Network. UCLA is the talk of the town after what they did. They embarrassed Penn State last week. Nico Iamaleava combined for 5 touchdowns in that game. So Michigan State linebackers better keep an eye on him, and because he was able to gash defensive coordinator Jim Knowles and Penn State's defense right in the middle with delayed rushes up the middle. Michigan State better watch out for that. Meanwhile, Michigan State, I thought they had a very good effort in their loss to USC, but then I thought they gave a very disappointing effort in the loss to Nebraska this past week. Michigan State's offensive line played poorly, and they had Aiden Childs running for his life back there, and he ended up throwing 2 picks. Jonathan Smith, he needs a bounce-back game here for his Spartans, and his team's catching a suddenly confident UCLA team all of a sudden, getting them at the wrong time. Going to be very curious to see how this game plays out. Then the game of the day, 7th-ranked Indiana is at number 3 Oregon. That's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific if you're out in Oregon watching that game on CBS. Mark your calendars. We here at Locked On Big Ten, we're going to go live right after that game. Whoever wins, when the winning coach does the final interview on the field, boom, we're going live. We'll be on for about a half hour. I get your immediate real-time comments when I do this. You get my unfiltered post-game reaction on this. We have a lot of success. We'll also, and we have a lot of fun. We'll also talk about everything that's already gone on in the Big Ten. And we're actually going to do this twice on Saturday because we're also going to do it after the Michigan USC game later. We'll talk about that later on. But this is the game of the week in the Big Ten. Heck, it's the game of the year in the Big Ten. I'm on the record as saying that I think the winner of this this Indiana-Oregon game will eventually play Ohio State for the Big Ten championship in December. And I also am on record, in fact, we did a podcast on it this week, I think the winning quarterback of this game, Fernando Mendoza for Indiana or Dante Moore for Oregon, will be the Heisman Trophy winner. They're both in the top 5 right now if you look at Vegas odds. So we explore that in depth. Curt Cignetti has already impressed the college football world last year with his 11-1 arrival, got the team to the playoffs. Going into Autzen Stadium and winning another big one, this would be a big feather in his cap. The Hoosiers already have a top 10 win against Illinois. They already are road tested with a tough game at Iowa. Now let's see how they handle the noise and the talent at Autzen Stadium. Remember, last year at Ohio State, their only regular season loss, they had trouble with the noise. They did. Meanwhile, on the other side, Dan Lanning is on a roll. The Oregon Ducks, phenomenal. That was, look, no matter what we want to say about Penn State, that was impressive to go out there to Penn State in front of a whiteout crowd of 111,000 people on a nationally televised game and go and win the game when it was clutch time, double overtime. So a win against Indiana for the Ducks will put the Ducks on cruise control as they have no more currently ranked teams on their schedule the rest of the season. So this is a positioning game for the upper tier. We always talk about middle tier, upper tier, and upper tier of the Big Ten. This is going to be some separation there in the upper tier when we find out who wins this ball game. So would love your thoughts on all these games, especially the Indiana-Oregon one. That's the one. Again, we're going to go live immediately after that here on Locked On Big Ten on YouTube. Join us for all of that. In the meantime, if you are new, hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you never miss a single episode. And if you don't mind, because I know if you're watching or listening, you're a Big Ten fan. I know you know other Big Ten fans. We all hang out together. We go to school together, family members, whatever. Hit that little share arrow and share this podcast with them with our picks for the weekend. Let them know we're out here every single day. I would really appreciate that. So share, follow, and like. Don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com with the number 10. All of our podcasts go there. If you want to catch up on what you missed earlier this week, we're there. Check it out. Plus, there are links there to where you can buy your merchandise from your favorite school. You get a Michigan shirt, Oregon hat, pennants on the wall, all that stuff right there among all of our podcasts at talkbig10.com if you want to check that out. All right, we have a lot of work to do. This is fun going into this weekend. We'll talk about Penn State and how are they going to bounce back. Now, they got Northwestern this week, so we have some thoughts on that. Plus, USC better be ready for Michigan at the Coliseum. So we'll take a look at all that. More breakdowns every single game and a look at our pigskin picks when we make it all official here at the end of the podcast. Well, I'll do all that in just a minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. You know, the weekend is at our doorstep here, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP, like who delivered, powered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with your DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it mattered most. Let's break it down. I'm going to start and begin with Nico at UCLA and what he did with his 5 total touchdowns against Penn State. That was remarkable, incredible, and kept adding with more scores. And every time Penn State was trying to get back into it, it was phenomenal. He absolutely delivered for UCLA. And just like Nico delivered for UCLA, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every Saturday that you order. Stack up all season long. Just order every Saturday, every week. Stack them up. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep your streak alive and fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period good through November 18th. So watching games, it's fun. It's exciting. Did you know it's more fun and exciting with FanDuel? That's right. Have a little something on it. Put a little skin in the game. It's the NFL season. FanDuel has an offer that you won't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So that's right. You pick a bet. You put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It's super easy to navigate. Point spreads, game totals, parlays, futures, all of it right there at FanDuel.com. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, that's with FanDuel. All right, thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. We've covered some of these games, broken them down. We have more to go, all 18 teams in action. So, but we always appreciate you every day. Hit that free subscribe button while you're listening or watching, and don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. So let's chop it up a little bit here. So Northwestern is at Penn State, and that's the 3:30 game on FS1. Where do we start with this? Look, Penn State needs a get-right game. They've lost 2 in a row. So I want to talk to them about them in a minute. I want to, first of all, start out with Northwestern. I got to give a shout out to quarterback Preston Stone because he may be the most improved player in the Big Ten so far this year. And maybe a lot of people don't know that from where he was starting in the beginning of the season. But this is just the absolute worst week to play Penn State. They're mad. They're frustrated. They've got something to prove. They're at home. Northwestern is getting used to playing in that comfy little stadium that they've built, a temporary stadium, 12,000 people on the shores of Lake Michigan on campus. Now they're going to go into a game that has literally 100,000 more people over there at Penn State. And it's going to be a vocal crowd because they're a little anxious and upset. They want to see things going in the right direction. And let's face it, I mean, Penn State, they have everything they need. They got a lot more talent. And coming up those shocking back-to-back losses. Well, Oregon wasn't shocking. It wasn't so surprising as the UCLA one was very surprising. So this has to be a get-right game for Penn State. Drew Aller, who has underperformed all season, has to get right in this game. Despite the fact that he's been the most experienced quarterback in the country, he's got to step it up. And it all starts with him moving forward. And, the defense has to play better too. They got gashed against UCLA. They sure did. Nebraska is at Maryland, and that's at 3:30 Eastern on the Big Ten Network. And this might be the most closely battled game on the Big Ten docket this week. So if you like quarterback matchups, this one's for you. We got Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, who we're very big fans of on the show, as he's throwing the ball as well as anybody in the conference. And then Maryland's quarterback, their freshman, Malik Washington. I'm very excited about him. I rave about him every week on this podcast, and he's already my pick for Big Ten Freshman of the Year, even more so than Bryce Underwood. If you haven't seen him play, take a moment and watch him play. He can really air it out, has a tremendous arm. And last week, the Huskers were able to muscle up a win against Michigan State, while Maryland got off to a 4-0 start, never trailed in any of those 4 games, and built a 20-0 lead against a good Washington team, and then lost that game 24-20. It's a head scratcher. It really is. So we'll have to see how Maryland comes out of the gate. I'm going to be very interested to look at the first quarter score of this game to make sure that they were able to shake that off from last week and keep the ball moving forward. Iowa's at Wisconsin at Camp Randall. That's a 7:00 Eastern game on FS1. And Iowa is coming off a bye, coming off a loss to Indiana. Mark Gronowski had the knee that he injured in the Indiana game, put a brace on it, tried to do the exercise bike. Looked like he wanted to get out of the field. They didn't want to put him on the field. They said, look, we got a bye coming up. Let's make sure you're good. He's been cleared physically, like no damage. He still is in pain. He's been practicing. The question is that Kirk Ferentz has to decide, can he perform at a high level without worrying about the knee? Otherwise, we might see Hank Brown in there. So question mark there. Unbelievable. If you want to talk about question marks at quarterback, let's look at Wisconsin with what they're doing. So quarterback Billy Edwards, he's played 2 quarters this year, and he hurt his knee. Danny O'Neill has come in, and then he got replaced this past week as Hunter Simmons, a transfer quarterback, made his first start for the Badgers, his 4th career start, but just his first start for the Badgers at Michigan last week. And I thought opening drive marched him down, looked pretty good. So here's my advice. We're gonna pick this game apart with our pigskin picks in just a few moments. However, I'm going to advise you to just stay away from this game altogether. If you want any action on it, unless you like the under, I'll tell you about that in a minute, because too many question marks. We got like 5 possible different quarterbacks that could be playing, 2 for Iowa, 3 for Wisconsin. Oh, look, I don't know. Gronowski's going to try and give it a go for Iowa. I've been trying to follow up on that story. And like I said, he's been practicing. Meanwhile, Luke Fickell, I mean, he's in his own head right now because they're struggling. He's feeling, the pressure for his job. I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter Simmons came out there and started again, but all these question marks, if you want to have a little action, I would stay away from that. All right. The second big game of the day, I told you the game of the day is Indiana at Oregon. The other game of the day, if you will, 15th ranked Michigan is at USC at the Coliseum. That's a 7:30 Eastern kickoff, 4:30 Pacific if you're watching on the West Coast in SoCal. So we're also on Locked On Big Ten going to go live after this game as well. We'll go live after Indiana and Oregon. We'll go live again after Michigan and USC, again, right after the winning coach does the interview on the sideline. So I'm thinking around 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific for the second one. All right. After the Indiana-Oregon one, they'll be around 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Just kind of know that we're going to come on twice. As far as this game goes, Jerome Moore and the Wolverines, they're going to SoCal for a win. And he suggested that the Coliseum is completely sold out because Michigan's in town. Lincoln Riley just shook his head and go, let's just play the game. I don't want to hear this nonsense. So Michigan quarterback Bryce Underwood, he keeps getting better each and every week. He's got a 6'5" wide receiver, Donovan McCulley. He's starting to get a little chemistry together with him. Have you noticed? I noticed that in the Wisconsin game. Problem is a lot of like Samaj Morgan, guys are dropping passes. They're not helping Bryce Underwood at all. I mean, maybe the velocity is just too hard for them to catch. Meanwhile, something you can count on each and every week for Michigan is Justice Haynes, their running back. He's got a couple of 75-yard runs. He's got a couple of 40-yard runs. He's very explosive. He's hitting the home run. He's got the big play on the ground. Michigan will rely on that. And while Michigan runs, USC likes to throw the ball. Jaden Iamaleava, he's been outstanding. And Michigan defensive backs better be aware of Mekhi Lemon and where he is at all times because he likes to throw to Lemon. And this is great. And I'll tell you, I'm looking as a kid that grew up in the Midwest watching Big Ten versus Pac-10 Rose Bowls. I'm looking forward to just seeing these two schools on the same field together, Michigan and USC, just reminiscent of some Rose Bowls when I was growing up. So even though it's not at the Rose Bowl, it's a few miles away at the Coliseum. Nevertheless, I'm looking forward to that game. And then we have one more game on the Big Ten docket. Purdue is at Minnesota. That'll be 7:30 Eastern on the Big Ten Network as well, part of their triple header coverage that day. And after starting the non-conference schedule with a 2-0 record at Purdue, the Boilers have yet to crack the win column, and that includes another non-conference loss to Notre Dame. Barry Odom is trying to get this thing turned around behind quarterback Ryan Brown, running back Devin Maccabee, so there's some talent, something to build on here. Meanwhile, Minnesota is rebounding from that 42-3 loss at Penn State. I mean, PJ Fleck just tipped his cap and said, look, man, I'm just very impressed with Ohio State. They're good in all three. They're great in all three phases, executed in all three phases. What are you going to do? Right. And he's not the only coach that has been on the wrong end of that kind of punishment. So the Gophers are going to try and build on their previous game that they had when they beat Rutgers 31-28. Redshirt freshman quarterback Drake Lindsay is coming along. He has come along. He's shown some steady improvement for the Gophers so far. So there you have it. A little thumbnail, piece of interest on every team, every game in the Big Ten this weekend. And now we are going to go on the record. We'll have our pigskin picks that's coming up in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. This is the Mazda moving the game forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it, because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible, and they remind us to go the extra yard, shift into that extra gear, keep the game moving forward. It's a lot of impressive detail, attention to detail. It makes you feel extra special with a Mazda, a car. And you know what makes you feel special? After a lot of detail, attention to detail, these players that deliver, like Nico Iamaleava and what he did again at Penn State. I want to mention him again, just his attention to detail. And they finally kept trying harder. And they finally got it in the win column, and they did it in grand fashion against Penn State. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. And we always close out with a feature at the end of our podcast. If you're new, we do this every day. We come out of the weekend on Mondays with our top 10 Big Ten observations from all the games, all the players, all the teams, everything. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets from X. Send me a tweet. We're at Talk Big Ten, number 10. Send me a tweet. I'll put it on the show on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, we power rank stuff. This time of year, we power rank the standings as we see them, 1 through 18. Penn State moved down a lot. UCLA moved up quite a bit. So that's what we did on Wednesday. Go back and check it out for a second listen. Thursdays, we take a look at the Big Ten Network and we highlight things, Big Ten Classics and their live action. For example, the triple header on this weekend. And then Fridays, today, we go on the record. Pigskin picks. We're not afraid. We're bold. We give you our opinion. We tell you what we think is going to happen. If you're audio only on Apple or Spotify, for example, no problem. I'll just describe what we're looking at here. All right, we got a graphic, just the games, the point spreads, and the point totals. On the left-hand column, we'll take a look at Rutgers at Washington. This is tonight, Friday night. First of all, Washington is a 10.5 point favorite, and the over-under is 59.5. So here's what I think is going to happen. Again, these teams have to travel all the way across the country. Look, Washington had to do it last week. They started out slow. I think that's an advantage for Washington. I think the fact that Washington is not playing Ohio State this weekend and kind of getting back to normal. Before the Ohio State game, Washington was putting points on the board. I think they will win this game. I think they eke out to a 2-score lead in the second half, and they cover the 10.5. Now, this over-under, 59.5, they'll fly over this because Rutgers can put up points too. So this might be a pretty entertaining ball game, actually. So I think Washington does pull out later to cover the spread, but both teams are scoring touchdowns. Take the over at 59.5. Now, on to Saturday. Number 1, Ohio State at number 17, Illinois. I am going to be curious, since this is a road game for Ohio State, if this makes this a closer game. Right now, the Buckeyes are 14.5 point favorites over the Fighting Illini, the over-under at 49.5. And again, is this going to be like I think Ohio State's going to win, right? Is this going to be a 35-14 game? Or is this, if Illinois, I got in the back of my mind, Illinois gave up 63 points to Indiana. What are they going to give up to Ohio State? So that's my fear factor in this, but we're fearless. We ignored those thoughts. These are bold and fearless predictions. So Ohio State will cover the 14.5 and will go over this number at 49.5. Meanwhile, UCLA is at Michigan State. I think this could be a close game, or possibly The thing to look forward to is that Michigan State pulls out ahead early, and then UCLA comes back to make it close. That was their MO in the games they were losing. Now, they jumped all over Penn State last week and totally flipped the script. But I think Michigan State wins, but I think it's closer. I don't think they cover the 7.5. I think UCLA can keep this within 3 is what I think. And the over-under at 55.5. I think we'll just get over the number here, 55.5. I think this is a good game. I think it's a close game. I think this is a evenly matched home game for Michigan State against UCLA. Okay, now let's go to some of these other ones. Indiana, number 7, Indiana, and number 3, Oregon. I've been waiting for this game all year. So right now, Oregon is a 7.5-point favorite. The number's 55.5. How is this going to be a game where maybe it's close because there's a lot of talent on both sides, but maybe Indiana has trouble with the atmosphere and the noise like they did at Ohio State, and then the game gets away from them a little bit? No, I actually think that I don't think Oregon will cover the 7.5. In fact, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it right here. Indiana gets the upset win. I guess it's an upset win. They get an upset win. They get the impressive win to everybody else and show the world that they're not a fluke and they are good to go. And by the way, this number screams past the over, 55.5. I'm surprised it's that low. All right. Nebraska is at Maryland, and Nebraska is I'm sorry. I skipped one. I skipped Northwestern at Penn State. Northwestern, Penn State. Penn State is a 21.5-point favorite. The over-under 47.5. All right. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a get-right game for Penn State. Northwestern's going to go in there. They're going to get buzzed a little bit. Sorry, Northwestern. Penn State, in fact, I'm going to make this my pick of the year. I mean, Penn State will cover the 21.5. They have to. They have to. And I also think the over is the best bet as well. So it's going to be a big day for Penn State. It has to be. It has to be. All right, now on to Nebraska at Maryland. Nebraska is a 6.5-point favorite, and the over-under at 47.5. I think Nebraska wins this game, but I don't think they win by 6.5. This is just like the Michigan State game I was talking about. I think this is a 3-point game. So I think Nebraska wins by 3, so they don't cover. And the 47.5, yeah, I think we go over that. I think that's a little low. I think Maryland will put up some points, and Nebraska will be right there with them and winning by about 3 points. That's what I think. Meanwhile, Iowa at Wisconsin. Iowa is a 3.5-point favorite. This is the game I told you to avoid because there could be 5 different quarterbacks in this game. We don't know. However, since we're bold and fearless, we're going to make a pick. I think Wisconsin, the wheels have fallen off. I think Iowa will win this game. They will cover the 3.5. Barely. It stays inside a touchdown. And as far as the 35.5, I take the under. I know that's a low number. Remember back in the day, we always used to take unders in Iowa games. But this one, yeah, take the under, but Iowa covers. I think this is it could be a 20-10 game, maybe, or maybe a 17-10 game, something in that neighborhood. Meanwhile, we got Michigan, number 15, Michigan at USC. USC is the favorite here at 2.5 at home, and the number's 57.5. Michigan's winning in this game. Michigan's going to win. They are. It's going to upset Trojan fan. I don't think Trojan defense will shut down Michigan all day. Michigan will run the ball. USC will throw the ball. Michigan wins. This number, hammer the over 57.5. Maybe, I think USC will be able to pass against the Michigan defense. And remember when they went to Michigan last year and ran the ball? I was like, what are you doing? Throw on them. So maybe they learned from that. If Lincoln Riley can throw the ball on Michigan, Michigan's going to get their points. USC is going to get theirs. This is going to be a high-scoring game. And then finally, Purdue at Minnesota. Minnesota's a 7.5-point favorite. The over-under 51.5. And I think Minnesota wins this game easy. After just scoring 3 points against Ohio State, they're gonna explode a little bit on Purdue. So that's what I think. Minnesota over Purdue. There you have it. Our fearless, bold predictions on the record every single game. What do you think? Let me know. You could have a different opinion. I would love your comments on all that as well. In the meantime, can't wait for these games. Going to be watching them all day Saturday. Going to go live after the Indiana-Oregon game. Going to go live after the Michigan-USC game. In the meantime, hit that free subscribe button down below so you never miss an episode. Share, follow, and like as well. We would always appreciate that. Don't forget, we have for you college football fans our college football kickoff with our experts from Locked On. Drake Tola of Locked On Big 12 hosts it. Gary Patterson, two-time AP Coach of the Year. Jesse Holley, former player. And again, our experts breaking down every game. The college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season on Fire TV. That'll do it for us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you live twice on Saturday. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll see you then.